All right. Now that we're officially being recorded, good morning again, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. At this time, I'm going to go ahead and ask if there's any members of the public wishing to address us on items not on today's agenda. Let me look over. There's one attendee, and that person is not raising their hand. If you're on your phone and you wish to be recognized, you hit *9 to raise your virtual hand. Right, not seeing any members of the public wishing to address us, then we will move on to our first item, which is to approve the minutes from last meeting. Again, you do not have to be present at that meeting. You're just approving the fact that the meeting's minutes are correct. Are there any issues? Anyone would like to make a motion to approve the minutes?
I can make a motion.
Thank you. And I'll second it. Andrew, would you like to do a roll call vote, please?
Mayor Constantine,
Aye.
Councilmember McKay,
Aye.
President Horner,
Aye.
Trustee Sullivan.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay. Next item is to determine the condition of in-person meetings would be present of public health risks. So this is just to say that we're going to be continue to meet on Zoom, and I believe we don't have a meeting next July, correct?
Correct.
So is it our plan in August to meet in person?
Absolutely.
Yay! This will be the last time that we have to approve this. So if there's no discussion, I'll ask if there's any members of the public wishing to address us on that item. Seeing none, then if there's a motion to approve.
Just a brief, I'll make a motion to approve with a prior comment. I mean, I'm seeing certainly amongst my my friends and acquaintances, people are coming down with COVID at a pretty rapid clip. So as much as I'm greatly in favor of in-person meetings and have been for a long time, also recognize that we may need to revisit this issue in order to ensure the ability to participate when people have to quarantine. So that said, as a proviso, I'll make the motion to approve this.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second, and just for everyone knows, I have a cold. I don't have COVID. So, okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Mayor Constantine,
Aye.
Councilmember McKay,
Aye.
President Horner,
Aye.
Trustee Sullivan.
Aye.
Thank you.
Great. That moves us on to item 3, which is school security. Who's going to be tackling that issue for us this morning?
Good morning. So this is a joint item. And so from the city, we have Captain Mario Ramirez, who's also serving as acting chief this week. And he'll overview it. And then I think you'll want to hear from Dr. Garcia as well.
Good morning, our team and trustees. So this week we met with the school district to talk about school safety. Obviously, with everything going on in the media, we want to ensure that our schools are safe and how we're going to be able to, starting in the next school year, ensure that that safety continues in place. As part of it, we will look through different areas of best practices and how we can implement new technology as well as implement new security measures at our schools. So with during the off months, our school resource officer, Greg Deeney, will be working with the school district to go through each one of the school's site safety plans and security plans to ensure that they're following best practices. And we'll model off the Kern County model where they have implemented a bunch of new practices, as well as some of the stuff from the other, I'm totally drawing a break on this one.
LAUSD?
LASD, the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department. They've all come up with best practices in school safety. And so Greg will be working with our teammates at the school district to ensure that all sites are ready to go by August.
Thank you so much, Captain Ramirez. We also talked about some problematic fences like the Nordstrom fence that is easily scalable. And we talked about, I believe, JAM as well, the fence that's around that kinder area. And so we'll be looking to make some improvements on that end as well.
All right, great. Now I'll ask if there's any members of the public wishing to address us on this item. Not seeing the hand go up. Are there any questions or concerns? All right. Well, then I'll move us to the City of Morgan Hill Police Department update. Captain, you're back up.
All right, so as we all know, the school district and the school year has ended. So just give you an update on arrests through the school year, or citations issued, I should say. So through the time, we issued 68 citations, 43 of those were on school grounds. The good thing to know is 34 of the individuals have been referred to diversion. So we are working on, as we continue to work with our youth and provide alternatives to ensure that they are receiving services. This is a downward trend from years past. So we're continuing to see that downward trend. We're seeing, rather than citing for certain offenses, we're getting them through diversion. One of the big ones is tobacco on campus or marijuana. Rather than citing, we're working with our tobacco liaison officer to provide quarterly trainings for them with the school district so that they can understand the dangers of tobacco use or marijuana use. So again, the number that we do see is downward, but of the 68, 43 were on school grounds for the school year. And then again, 32 of those have been, or 34 have been referred to diversion. As far as what we're looking at citywide, our SRO attended some of the graduations, and we continue to work, like we just said, about the school safeties and work on the MOU. The MOU was passed on June 7th, and we will be working on routing the MOU for signatures here today so that all that will be in place for the next school year. And that's all I have on my report.
Let me unmute myself here. Thank you very much. Thank you, Captain. We have a member, or we have a question from Councilmember McKay.
Yes, thank you. Officer, Captain Ramirez, I know you've probably done this 100 times, but maybe one more time. What, as far as arrests or charges, what was the last year that would be comparable as far as in-person attendance? What were the statistics for that year or that time period?
I do not have those in front of me. I only have the last year's school district, the last year's school calendar year of citations. So I'd have to get back to you with those last ones. But the last full year would be probably in 2019, before we left, had the students leave for the pandemic would be. Okay. So we're looking about 2 years.
Yeah, maybe last year will work, because I know that there's kind of been a change in policy. And that's kind of what I want to highlight.
There has been a change in policy. So the change in policy is we're no longer citing for tobacco on campus or citing for the marijuana on campus. They're being referred to our tobacco liaison officer for training and services in that aspect. The other thing it's important to point out that even though we're citing the individual youth, they're being referred to, depending on the citation, the low-level offenses are being referred to the diversion program. So once they complete the diversion program, the record is sealed and it's never referred to juvenile probation. So essentially there's no record for them on their as they continue if they're looking for a college application. So there has been a change. I think when we look at citation numbers, the citation is part of what puts them in the diversion program. But what we should be looking at is how many of those cases have been referred to juvenile probation, and that is greatly reduced due to the diversion program and the change in our policy in terms of what we're citing for.
Okay, great. Hopefully that creates some true change in behaviors and lifelong experiences. They won't have those records following them around. And so I appreciate the change in policy. Thank you.
Okay, President Horner.
Thank you, Mayor Rich. Just want to comment. I think our school district and police department have been exemplary in using this program the correct way. If you followed some of the national and other conversations, for example, we don't do call the police because there's been willful defiance because a student, didn't want to sit in their chair fast enough. I mean, there are some really horrific things that have happened in other places that of course get highlighted, and it's really clear in our schools that, police involvement in terms of citations and whatnot is for, serious criminal matters. Drug distribution, bringing a weapon to school, getting in physical altercations, that sort of thing, which is, in my view, an appropriate place for law enforcement to be involved. So we've had many a long conversation, and we'll continue to. I know Captain Ramirez and Officer Dini and the rest of the staff and our staff work on this constantly of how to improve and how to further improve. We're all committed to this not being the infamous school to prison pipeline, which I will say is a real thing. I think we're doing an exemplary job of not being, a key part of that narrative, but it is a real thing, and I appreciate the work everyone does to maintain safety while not, going to extremes that are injurious in and of themselves. So I just want to mention that first. I'm not sure, and I see there is one. Whoever our one phone attendee is also has their hand raised. I don't know when you want to take public comment on this, but that's my comment and my appreciation to both staffs. Thank you.
Thank you, President Horner. I will take comment after questions from my colleagues. So if there's no other questions, I do have one question, Captain. Do we differentiate between juvenile citations that are given outside of school?
Yes, we do. So total during August of 2021 to June of 2022, 68 citate juveniles or youth citations were issued. Of those 68, 43 were issued on school grounds. So we do track all juvenile citations, and we do track which ones are on school grounds and which ones are not.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. If none of my colleagues have any other questions, and I'll go to the member of the public to address us on this item. And I believe you have to hit *6 to unmute yourself.
Good morning. This is Doug Muirhead, Morgan Hill resident. I didn't quite understand what Acting Chief Ramirez said about handling of cases that were not sent to diversion. I think he said something about juvenile probation. I didn't understand. If you could just clear up the handling for those smaller number of cases that are diverted. Thank you.
You're welcome. Captain Ramirez.
Yeah, so all juvenile cases, when the citation is issued, whether if it's not eligible for diversion, they go through to the juvenile probation department, and juvenile probation reviews the case and then determines what the case will do, if they'll refer it to the DA's office, or if they will take it from there and impose another type of diversion program on them. So again, there's multiple layers before the case is actually fully prosecuted. Their case could go to the juvenile probation office. They can put in their own diversion program to help provide resources to the family as well as the youth prior to it even being filed with the district attorney's office. So for the county, our process is our in-house individual will review every juvenile citation that comes in. He will determine if that is eligible through diversion through the criteria that has been set by the diversion team. If it is not, the case is referred to juvenile probation, and then from there, the case is taken over, and we, as a department, step out.
Thank you for that clarification, Captain. And I will just echo what the President Horner mentioned, that our SRO program is not just putting a police officer in a school. Our SROs have to go through extensive training to make sure that they are able to handle the school environment, because the school environment is not just like being out in the street. So again, I want to recognize the fine work of our police department and the cooperation that we have with the school district. And with that, I'll move this over to the Morgan Hill Unified School District to talk about COVID and district updates.
So I'll flip the two items if that's okay, Mayor Constantine. So I would
Dr.
like,
Ryan.
say that again.
I said, please, doctor, go ahead.
Okay. I wanted to, my goodness. So we had a successful year reopening all Morgan Hill Unified School District schools. It's fascinating to sort of reflect and, go back to August and everything that we did to prepare our community, our students, our families, and our staff to successfully reopen, and we did it. And so I'd like to highlight just some graduations. So the community adult school had a lovely graduation. I want to highlight the top picture. His name is Jose. He has his high school diploma, and I won't divulge his age, but I think he's a perfect example for why it's never too late to give up on your education. He came to this country as a farm worker and then became a roofer and got injured. And he said, you know what, I'm going to be a school bus driver. But in order to be a school bus driver, you need to have a high school diploma. And so we were able to enroll him at the community adult school. And now he has a diploma, and his very proud families around him. Very symbolic for why it's never too late. Central High School graduation was quite lovely as well. So was the Live Oak graduation and Sobrato graduation. We also celebrated students that dominate more than one language, that are multilingual, achievement celebration. Again, with this theme of promoting multiple languages, we also had a lovely language ambassador multicultural celebration at San Martin. And we're off to summer school and other enrichment opportunities in the summer. So summer school officially started this week. It will go from June 13th through July 14th at 2 sites, at Walsh and also at Sobrato. Also delighted to continue our partnership, actually to restart the partnership with Silicon Valley Tech Academy. We have several sessions where 80 students, primarily middle school students, are participating in this partnership with the former dean of San Jose State University's Engineering Academy, and also SMG, San Martin Guin, has some farm summer camp opportunities for students. And by the way, all of these are completely free to our students. We're also in the process of imagining and really being very specific and purposeful with the Family and Community Engagement Center. I originally wanted to call it a parent center, but that's not very inclusive. Not all of our students have parents. And so this center will be centrally located at Britton Middle School. Literally, it's in the middle and the heart of our school district. And so if you can imagine all of our wraparound services housed in one place where our families and our parents and our students can go to. So I would love to be able to have a computer lab and a printer and a copier for students that don't have this at home. I want to be able to offer tutoring for our students. I want this center to be open, not just during the day, but also in the evening, parent classes, ESL classes, parenting classes, as well as all of our community-based organization partners housed here. And so we welcome your ideas and we welcome your input, and we'd like to make this available for our families and our students in the fall. So stay tuned on this. We're also hiring. Oh my goodness, please help us spread the word. I did a lot of listening and learning with not just our parents, but also with our students in our community. And we're in the process of hiring music teachers and art teachers and theater teachers and PE teachers for our elementary program. We want to be able to provide this to all of our students in all of our elementary programs. So help us spread the word. We are also in the process of hiring additional high school teachers because we're working on adding an additional period to our high school schedule. An overarching theme that our high school students told us was that they want more. We want more electives. We want more AP courses. We want more rigor. We want more opportunities. We want more languages. And we can't accomplish the more on a 6-period day. And so we're working behind the scenes to be able to expand our opportunities for our students. So that means we're hiring. So help us, please spread the word. Oh, and by the way, Mayor Constantine, I was at Rotary yesterday and Cal Fire was presenting and they were talking about how they too have some staffing issues. And I am like, that's why CTE exists. And so I asked the Chief Battalion, I believe that's his official title, Wong, that we should partner and let's create a CTE pathway with fire science that articulates formally with Gavilan College. And so maybe I'll pick your brain separately, but it would be amazingly ideal to be able to offer this opportunity for our students, many of whom want to be firefighters, right? And so let's capitalize on that and let's help create a pipeline. So maybe that's a separate conversation, Mayor Constantine, if you're, we'll talk separately.
I would love to. I know a little bit about that career path.
You know a little bit about it and you can actually teach. You can teach fire science.
Well, as my political career winds down, maybe, but I won't make any promises.
No, but maybe I could definitely pick your brain so that we can bring this opportunity to our students. With this, I'm going to hand this over. Do you want to ask a question about this, board member?
I just want to say I look forward to seeing you in your new role, Mayor Rich, and we've already signed you up to teach 2 courses, just so you know.
You just don't know this yet, Mayor Constantine. Just kidding. I'm going to hand this over to Assistant Superintendent Von Myers, who will provide a look back of, so this is the second item that I flipped, Mayor Constantine, what we did with COVID, how we were able to be super stealth and move as the virus evolved, and a brief overview of what to expect with respect to testing for the following school year. With that, I'll hand it over to Assistant Superintendent Myers.
Great. Thank you, Superintendent. So yes, that looking back is, I think it is important just to say, where have we been? And it's been quite a year as we all, not just school systems, but we as a society really adjusted to the evolving guidelines of, quarantine after exposure to a stay in place after exposure. And that was really important in the school setting to be able to monitor exposure and the stay in place or test when symptomatic and send home. So this year in review is really kind of about testing because we responded to those evolving decision trees, is what they were called, of what to do when. Those trees evolved. Sometimes we would get 3 in 1 month. And so it was very rapid. And then sometimes we would use the same tree for maybe 6 weeks, but all year long, those trees changed. But what was key, the key information for all of those changes, we had to know information, and the information was, did we have a positive case or not? So we began the year offering weekly testing, and that had actually begun last spring, so spring of 2021. And that was PCR testing, which is not as timely. The results take anywhere between 2 to 3 days to get those results back. Then we shifted toward antigen testing, and this was really the California Department of Public Health began providing more support to schools across the state, and we certainly benefited from that. And then we were able to do response testing for any classroom or team that had an exposure or a case, and that was really important too. So then instead of weekly testing some of our large groups like all athletes or all musicians, we were able to really hone in when there was one case, because after the stay in place became available, we wanted to make sure that we were keeping kids in school as much as possible, but also identifying any other positive cases as a result of an exposure. And so that was really key to kind of scale up the number of tests we were able to get and personnel to do that. And then in January, that 4th bullet was a really exciting pivot, I think, if we just look back in terms of the testing strategy. We were able to offer at-home test kits for students. And that started in January, and before they even came back for the 2nd semester. So families who had been perhaps traveling over that 2-week period, they were able to pick up a test kit and test their children and keep them home if they got a positive. And then our own board approved and authorized an expenditure to purchase more. And then in addition to that, again, CDPH began distributing these at-home kits. So we have had multiple times we have been able to distribute these at-home kits directly to our students to take home, including for summer school. And what we are hearing, and I'll do the coming up though, is that that really will be the model going forward, is more at home. Here's our year at a glance with cases, and this really mirrors very similar to countywide data, but this is our own data. And you can see there, those first few months we're managing, right? Yes, we had cases, and then it just exploded in January with that Omicron wave. And then you'll see toward the end of the year, we were getting more positive cases, and that really does mirror what we're seeing across the county. And then moving forward, so this is the new information. We continue to have a COVID designee who attends weekly meetings with CDPH just to hear the updates related specifically to schools and in keeping our students safe. So starting in August, there really is going to be more focus on a distribution of those over-the-counter test kits. And so they'll be delivered to, well, in our case, to county offices. We pick them up from the county office, and then we distribute them to the sites, and the sites distribute to students. But we've got a good distribution model. We've already done that since January multiple times, and it looks like that will be the real shift. We will continue to use antigen tests, and in fact, CDPH is now recommending antigen over PCR. The subtle difference, as we understand it, is PCR is very sensitive and detects whether your body is fighting the virus, but antigen picks up whether the body is sloughing the virus, which would make you contagious. So really in a school setting, what we are most interested in is someone contagious. And so that's the subtle difference. And also the antigen provides rapid results within 15 minutes. So a pivot, maybe not completely away from PCR, but a focus more on over-the-counter and the antigen. That third bullet there, the California Department of Public Health has advised that they will continue to support with some professional on-site testing programs for schools. Our district benefited, others within the state. We were wondering whether that was going to scale back, but we will start the year with that service still in place. The volume of on-site testing we anticipate will decrease, but again, we're all just watching this virus as it evolves. And I think that's it.
Thank you so much. And so with that, we want to, on behalf of the school district, we want to wish everyone a lovely and a happy summer break.
Great, thank you, Doctor. And we have benefited in our household from the antigen tests. When Emma and I came down with a cold, we tested ourselves and make sure we actually had a cold and not COVID. It's kind of interesting though. When she came down with COVID, she didn't give Andrea or myself COVID, but she didn't do the same with the cold. I don't know why. she decided to give us her cold, but not the COVID. So I guess we'd be thankful for small blessings. Anyway, thank you very much for that report. I'll ask if there's any other reports or updates from my colleagues. Not seeing any. All right. Actually, I'm sorry. I should ask if there's members of the public wishing to address us on items from the school district. No, not seeing a hand go up, but President Horner.
Just an item of mutual interest, you know, we're keeping an eye on, and I listened into the County Office of Education board meeting last night regarding the situation with Voices. Voices, you know, has lost their lease, and they now are proposing a plan for 3 sites to continue operating next year. 2 sites identified, 1 to be determined. If you look at their report, they feature prominently on multiple times saying the great cooperation of the city of Morgan Hill. So just to, you know, we've not taken a position as a school district on that, but I'm very concerned for these students and their staff. You know, they're now talking about potentially a decision in late July from the County Office of Education. And, you know, that's only 3 or 4 weeks before our start of school. Voices traditionally doesn't start until September. So it's an area where both organizations, you know, it's not primarily our work, but it affects both organizations and, more importantly, our community. And as we heard, we're already scrambling to hire the people we need. And we all remember the nightmare that was the Flex Charter's sudden shutdown, which was the other county authorized charter school, which operated in Morgan Hill and bailed suddenly, to use a non-technical term. So this is a different kind of situation, but it's very serious and one we're keeping an eye on. And, I'm hope is not a plan, right? And I feel like that organization right now is deep into hope. So we'll see where that all goes. I know our staff and sites and schools are very flexible, but the disruption for those families, if we have 200, 300, 400 students suddenly finding out at the end of July that, ooh, they're not actually registered in a school, we will not and cannot and don't want to turn anybody away. But 300 students means about 12 teachers, right? It's a real concern for us and an area of concern for our community that touches on both, of course, the school district and the city. So just wanted to raise it as an area of concern. I mean, this group won't meet again until after whatever is going to happen has happened. But it is an area of mutual interest and concern, and one we're watching very closely.
No, most definitely. And that's kind of the concern with private schools in general. They can do anything they want. They can open, they can close, and we have to accommodate. But there is no concern. Well, I won't put that on them. I'll just say that the concern is, as you noted, about the children is well noted, because ultimately they'll be left out not left out in the cold, as you said, but it's an upheaval in their family, in their lives. So your sentiment is well taken care of. And as I said, as far as the city is concerned, we'll do everything we can to accommodate their wishes, desires, or whatever that can be done. But this is the issue with private schools.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a charter school, not a private
Charter school, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, and also, I don't know what all the nuances are of, generally the places they're talking about going would require some kind of a conditional or temporary use permit. And so I also hope that city staff, in communicating with them, it's always nice to say, we're trying, but if you find is like, look, this is not gonna happen and can't for whatever reason, let them know and let everybody know. This question should have been resolved months ago. They have known. I mean, they've been in a temporary 1-year extension of their existing lease. They've gone beyond, the original intended use of what the commercial building that was Flex and that now has been Voices. So I'm just, we're kind of in a rope-a-dope mode from my point of view, and I'm very concerned, that while everybody's in hope, the consequences are not being well understood. So, again, you all have your work to do, but if you get to a point, it's like, look, you cannot meet the legally required deadlines. We've done everything, but you're at the end of the road. I don't know what that is, but there is a role the city and city staff have there, and I really hope that as you consider those questions, you think of the bigger context. I'm not saying poor us, poor Morgan Hill Unified. That's not it at all. It's like,
No,
our concern is for these students and families and their staff. If they're not going to operate, we're hiring.
Mhm.
But so anyhow, enough said.
Well, I can tell you that the city it's not our goal, or it's not our action to equivocate. If something can't be done, we will tell them, but we also try and work with anyone with any project that comes before us. So if there is an issue that we can't give a answer directly that they need to work with, we'll tell them. But if there's something that we can't do, we'll also tell them that. But understand that it's our job to work to yes and not to say no.
I understand. I appreciate that, and I applaud that. I'm just saying, remember, don't equivocate. That's a really great word. So thank you.
Okay. So with that, I will ask if there's any members of the public wishing to address us on that said item. Not seeing a hand go up, then we will go ahead and move on to, let me get my iPad to turn back on. Other reports? No other reports, and then any topic for future meeting? Not seeing any hands going, but I'll just say I really appreciate all the work that our school district is doing. Dr. Garcia, you're doing a fantastic job. as well as all the members of your staff. And I just, again, want to highlight how much I appreciate the fact that we have such a fantastic working environment. I know that we are separate entities, and sometimes the members of the public don't think of us as separate. Many times we are told by members of the public, you need to build a school over here. It's like, well, no, it's not really our job. Or you get told, why didn't you put a stop sign there? It's like, well, that's not our job. That's the city's job. So vice versa. But again, really appreciate the fine working group that we have together. And I hope that continues well into the future. So with that, I will go ahead and adjourn today's meeting. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.